Superintendent Kyle. We're good now? All right, we got Anthony's the only one here according to the recording. Our police chief, Danny Valeri, got the town attorney, Dave Zagon, our town clerk, Patty Carino, and our receiver Texas Sue Shadowell as well. And Patrick Mangan's on the keyboard. We go, Patrick, you sure? Yes. All right. First thing on the agenda is I just threw this on here to talk about the Memorial Day service and parade. Hopefully we get a little better attended this year.
Yeah.
May 18th is the memorial service, is at 10 a.m. It's at the monument in 94-9W like we normally do. We will be honoring a town of New Windsor resident for the Nicholas Brooks Award, a recipient of that. It's a very nice choice, and everybody will be pleasantly surprised on who the recipient of it is. And then after that's the parade is at 2 p.m. It's on 94. The lineup is at 1 o'clock at the post office parking lot at 436 Blooming Grove Turnpike. And then the parade continues from there north to New Windsor School, and it ends up in the upper parking lot of New Windsor School, and that's where the parade steps off at 2. So again, if these folks, I know, I think you guys are involved in it.
Yeah, if there's anybody involved in a community group or youth group watching, we're still accepting more groups that want to march, so contact us.
So yeah, again, like if anybody's out there and wants to be involved in a parade, it'll be a good thing for us. If anybody has air conditioning right here. Number 2 on the agenda, we have, if anybody has been following it, I'm sure I know Anthony is aware of it. The old highway garage on Union Avenue there, which is now going to be another storage unit in town. That's another thing we got to talk about too. We get more storage units in town. So that's going to be that we had back in years ago. There was a little bit of I think it was just a fuel spill, right, Anthony, underground line or something.
2005, 2006.
Yeah, if you spilled, we were under DEC orders to have monitoring wells, and it costs us to test them every year. It's so I've been after the DEC about it seems like to me it was a little bit of a money grab after a while because they just kept testing them and we were doing it. Finally, there was an applicant that came to the town board. We only had 2 wells left to be tested, and they've cleared them all now, the DEC. So we have no more monitoring wells at the old highway garage. It's officially free and clear from the DEC. So now they're going to probably be moving forward now with that storage unit placed there. Up on Union Avenue. So number 3, so you're gonna start seeing soon, I hope, and I say I hope because I did tell Dave the other day that they're ready to strangle me, and then it turns out I get it. We just every time these guys get something to do and they start on it, we walk over to something new and it sidetracks them, so it's a pain in the neck. But they've gotten a lot done in the last I did notice for a little bit today, they closed the door. That's the only way they can get us get work done, which is a good thing. But there's a few things that you're gonna start seeing. I don't know, first, I believe we're on maybe par for June, but we're hopeful, if we will. If not, maybe July. But certainly it's imminent, it's close. There's a couple of things we're gonna bring up that we're gonna change now. We like to change now in the code. One being we're going to poke a little at the solar code. The reason for that, there's a solar project going on. This was even more confusing to me. It's the Bethlehem Road Solar Farm on Kings. Go figure it out. But anyway, they proposed this solar farm there with battery storage attached to it, which I definitely objected to. I had the solar company in here. We kind of went at it, and they agreed. They pulled it out. I think they're kind of looking at the solar code. For me, I think they're looking at it wrong. They're saying that in our code allows storage. And I think what the intent of that code is that if you have solar panels on your roof of your house, there may be like a little, almost like a car type battery on there. That was the intent of the law, not to have battery storage at it. Sure. So they agreed that they pulled it off. And they're not going to have it on it. That's something we want to just clarify in that code. There is even some solar fencing. The current fencing now in our code, it requires you to have either black or green coated vinyl fencing or slats in the fence. they're now going to more environmental friendly fencing that's like posts with the larger square metal fencing where and rabbits can get through and animals and they'll get stuck in them and deer and everything else. So they're looking at the planning board has been migrating to allowing that for an ask, if you will. I did tell this particular solar company for the Kings Road one that if they do put up these fences, if you will, that you can see through, that they should provide some screening like arborvitaes or some trees, and I think they're gonna do that, so. So that's one of the things we're looking to do in the code is to fix that. Another thing is planning board extensions, which is a thing that's where I think we're all hot on. We're tired that we literally have projects in a planning board for up to 30 years right now, 25, 30 years that we just keep extending and extending because the code makes you do that. We're gonna, in our monthly infrastructure meetings, we kind of discussed of doing perhaps if somebody gets approval through the planning board, that it would be allowed to be extended up to 3 years and that's it. After that, and it makes it difficult for us to, 25 years ago, or 30 years ago, whether it be sewer needs or, any infrastructure needs, there's no, it's crazy that we're allowing this to happen so that's a code change we're gonna do. To only allow 3 years, and I think it's a total, we gotta see how it's worded. I think it's gonna be 3 years and perhaps allow it up to 5 years, but it's gotta be some, we'll look at it. Everybody wants to comment on it.
Yeah.
But I think 3 years is more than enough. If they don't get it in 3 years, they gotta come back to the planning board and start the process over again. Which I think is fair. And another thing too, we're gonna look at is these, the estimates. So, I know, right now, if somebody gets an approved project and they do cost estimates for whether it be for maintenance or bonding for whatever it may be, drainage or something, we never, once a planning board project gets approved, we never go back and revisit them and look at them. I'll give you, for instance, Fox Hill, when they were down to their last, when they were ready to take dedication, they needed, we went to them and said, listen, you guys have been doing this for 25 years building this. You need to do all new blacktop roads. And that was gonna be like $2.3 million. And we had $800,000 of his money in escrow. So now he's gonna say, you know what, I'm not gonna do it, I'm gonna walk away. He's gonna give us 800,000 and then we'll be responsible for the rest of the money. So because that was the blacktop cost 25 years ago.
Yeah.
So we're gonna put some clauses in there to allow that to be revisited every so often, whether it be a year or 2 years, whatever that comes up to allow us to keep increasing that and build it. I know there is some, like now, like solar farms, there's decommissioning costs in them. I think their lives are like 30 years. I would be willing to bet that 30 years from now, if they have to be decommissioned, the money that we have, these folks are just gonna walk away and we're gonna be.
We're gonna get stuck with it, yeah.
Exactly. So things like that, I wanna see us revisit. So you're gonna hopefully see, I'm not holding Dave to June, but maybe July. Is that better? That sounds good, right? But he's working on it. He's working on it though. He definitely is working on it. But again, like I said, it's that and then we poke in something else and it gets crazy, but hopefully that'll happen. So, and there's, I think, plans for a lot more other changes, but as we get to them, we're gonna do them. I know, we'll get that and we'll cross that bridge, get there. This one, the Cornwall ambulance dispatch agreement, I kind of thought I was gonna have it done for this meeting to sign, although it doesn't expire until the end of, I believe it's October. Right now, the town of Cornwall pays the town of New Windsor $13,000 for our dispatch end of Cornwall ambulance. So when our the New Windsor ambulance is in Cornwall and we answer the phones and stuff like that, Cornwall pays us $13,000 for that. So that is coming up for renewal. I met with the town supervisor in Cornwall. He had and I get it. I applaud him for trying. He said, I was thinking maybe a couple of $1,000s increase, and I said, I'm not gonna do it unless it's at least doubled. And he was okay, so he agreed. So we're gonna double that to 26,000. So that, once that's done, that's in their hands, Cornwall's hands. I thought their attorney was gonna have it to us already, but they haven't yet, so I'm assuming maybe if they're like ours, they're busy and they don't have it here yet, so that's coming in June maybe too, for them. But that's on the move, so we negotiated some more, it's good.
Yeah.
So we're gonna put in for our next round of CDBG money, so we're gonna, we chose I'd asked about doing a generator project for the Marasco Center, the senior center. There is no, right now when the power goes out, there is no generator for there. So I think it's like 100 and I forget, it's like 175,000 or something you get for it. The generator is not gonna be that much, but I know there's some electrical work. So I had asked our engineer if he can also add, not only the generator, add a new kitchen for that, for the senior center. So he agreed to do that too. So we're gonna put in, I don't know if it's this year, if it's new or if it's something they've always done and I just, never watched it, paid attention, but we can, we can get we can do it one of two ways. We can get the kitchen and we can have our buildings and grounds guys install it, which are quite capable. It's just a lot of cabinets or refrigerator. Or we can go out to bid with this. So we have to kind of see, make sure if we're under the cap with doing it all in one, then we'll just do it all in one. If we're not, we need some of our own kind services. We'll use our manpower for that. So I tried to get the community center in that as well, but I was told that it's definitely has to be 100% for seniors. So the community center is not 100% for seniors because we rent.
Oh, gotcha. Okay.
And that's something I think is gonna be more of a budget item at the end of the year, and it's not a huge task. It's
Yeah.
cabinets and
Yeah.
we definitely gotta spruce that room up a little bit, so.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Um,
maybe even
like-
separate a kitchen. If we'll have one.
yeah, we could certainly do something, maybe some type of serving
Yeah, oh, yeah,
table
yeah,
or,
yeah,
you know,
yeah.
like
I
almost
need
like,
that.
yeah, something like a counter.
Counter, yeah.
If you, actually something similar, if you look at our buildings and grounds guys just did a nice job in the back, rec center or the future teen center.
Oh, yeah.
At Rashedi, they just redid that room to get it by for now for camp and make it really kind of nice. They did a nice
Nice.
job.
Excellent.
You have to take a peek at that. So that's the CDBG stuff. So I've been kind of poking at this next thing with this phone system. So I've been, we have this Cisco phone system here in town. I've been looking at obviously budget stuff and how much this phone is and who does what and yada yada. I've been having a lot of problems with I'll be on the phone for 6-7 minutes on calls and phones dropped and I was just kind of getting frustrated. So I kind of looked at some prices, what we pay and what we do yearly. This year, I'll give you for instance, this year, 2025, we have budgeted nearly $43,000 this year for the phone system. So I had asked, like we have our phone system that goes through, I believe, Spectrum, it's got SIP lines, all this stuff that's crazy. And I know there's this cloud-based stuff now.
Mhm.
And it's far cheaper and easier. I know we had an instance where we had to
Yeah.
take our phone here from Cisco and send it to somebody's house to work remotely on a certain day. And it was a nightmare. So I had tasked the IT department. And I know we work, and Patrick specifically as well, works with other towns that have different cloud-based phones. I know John McDonald he's kind of our Cisco guy manager. So I said, listen, will we notice anything if we go to a cloud-based? And they're like, the end user here will never notice. I'm like, all right, what's the cost difference? So we got a company to come in here, the voice over IP phone company that came in here. Patrick had got a company come in. They brought some demo phones. They went over the whole thing for us. And the next day they send a quote, and I'll just kind of give you an idea for the yearly cost. This is not including, these Cisco phones we have now, we own, we can use some, but some we can't. But we're talking, if we give everybody new phones, we're talking about $16,000 if we were to buy all new phones. But this system a year for this particular vendor is $10,140 a year.
You said we
Opposed
paid
to 40 some,
Yeah.
42, 43. And I gotta be honest with you, this is just my opinion and I'm not no shot at anybody, but I still think there's some other costs in here too. I know we have some, we have some maintenance agreements and stuff like that, but I think it's 2025. There's no reason. So we had some demo phones brought in here. I asked for one in my office, I had it in my office, and I said one day, I'm gonna bring it home and try it. So I bring it home, I set up on my counter. I have to put my Wi-Fi password and bam, I have phone. Now I'm calling people from my house and they're like, hey, what's up? And I'm like, they're like, you at work? And I'm like, no, I'm trying to call people at 8 o'clock at night. It comes up New Windsor, but work like a champ. So the point, if I needed to go someplace,
Yeah.
something happens here, we need to remotely go.
Yeah.
Where you grab a phone, you need Wi-Fi,
Sure,
plug it
yeah.
in, and away you go.
Yeah.
The only questions I'd have is, what about our infrastructure here? Do we need to make any improvements? This will be,
No, we're pretty
Internet?
regulated. We have the
Yeah,
generator
no, it's
now.
nice.
okay,
There's-
well, not just the generator, but bandwidth for the Wi-Fi, no? Okay, gotcha.
Phones are minimal bandwidth, if any.
So
For
we asked-
everybody, right? Okay.
So we asked that, we had, Patrick, you got this company come in, John was here, we had all our IT staff here, we went over the phone stuff. I'm still, I think we're still waiting for a real good number from Cisco. I mean, we have what we have budgeted here for them, but I think, I believe Cisco comes out, it says here, I think it says a 1-year quote is approximately $26,000, so opposed to, that's Cisco. And I think,
Wait, for
this current
cloud.
phone system, cloud, yeah, it's a lot more, it's like double, more than double.
Right.
These phones are fancy, but they, it's because they're on the president's desk, we don't have to have them. The phone that I had at home has the side card is much better, I'm sure you can get these as well, but the side card holds a lot more in it. The voice was perfect, there was no, again, to their point, I think, the end user's not gonna realize it, I'm here about saving money. I said, if I could save money, get a cloud-based phone, what are we doing? So it looks like we're gonna probably have to go out for, RFP on it. We'll have to write this, I believe, specs on it. We'll have a
Yeah.
bunch of specs from other,
Right.
towns, cities and
Yeah.
villages.
Other towns happy with it that happened?
Yeah, so I had asked Jeff in my office to make a phone call to a bunch of the places that, we have him in through our, and he's got a pretty good report on it. There's been no issues with it. I think like anything else, I would assume, and Patrick can answer, I would assume that if the internet totally goes down, it'll be an issue, right?
If you lose it, but there's multiple failover options, then you saw take to your house.
Right, yeah.
Police cars all have cell based, we have cell based internet, failover for our system here, there's multiple failover options that we don't have now.
So what we'll end up doing is that, listen, we're gonna go out to RFP. I don't know who, just because this company and Patrick wrote the guy in there, doesn't necessarily mean I'm sold it. I want to, if I get a cloud-based phone, we get a decent phone, and I'm gonna save $30,000 a year on it, I wanna do that. And if we save $30,000 on several contracts going here and there, it all adds up. And it's, quite frankly, it's our job to make sure that, and mine, to make sure I inform you folks of that. So we're gonna be looking at, that's gonna be coming sooner or later. I know, and I believe, I think John had said to me, and Patrick may confirm, that is not just an easy task too. There's some work involved with this.
Oh, yeah.
Phones, right, and doing all this stuff. So,
Phones, there's programming.
yeah, so
The implementation, things like that.
yeah, it's not gonna happen overnight, but
It's a fair amount of legwork. Yeah.
but we gotta, it's gonna be a several month process, so, but that's maybe coming, you may be seeing that soon, so hopefully we'll get that going. Next item on the agenda, 108 World Trade Way. So,
This is what we're talking about.
so this is, without throwing some. Cause it's, what's that?
This is where you jack.
Yeah, exactly. So it's secret negotiation. So we're not, the ink's not in the paper yet, so I wanna try to keep some,
Right.
I wanna try to keep some. So 108 World Trade Way is the old, for anybody that knows, been around a long time, it's the old Officers Club.
Yeah.
It's, I can tell you that the town had taken the airport over, many years ago. We had ground leased a lot of the airport property up there to First Columbia. First Columbia shaved a lot of their ground lease down to 40.3 acres. 108 World Trade Way, which is the old Officers Club, on a 3.5 acre parcel, was one of them. There were some of the other parcels, my predecessors had sold to Simone. Simone Development Corp., who owns a lot of the property up there now, and then some of it we own right now is ours. This 108 World Trade Way had an established building on it. The First Columbia, who was ground leasing it from us, subleased it to another company who subleased it, who actually took a mortgage out on it. I'm gonna kind of try to dumb it down, who took a mortgage out on it. Simone came in, purchased the property next to it, and then purchased the rights to that mortgage that company defunct and went under. So somehow Simone, and we all can agree to disagree, but Simone took deed to the building somehow.
Right.
And over the years, it is what it is. It's on a 3.5 acre parcel, like I said. It's up on the airport. There's two pains in the necks up in the airport, and it's 108 World Trade Way that we want to put to bed, and it looks like it may happen in the next month or so. And Raz Avenue, the building up there, and that looks like that's coming towards a close soon too. So 108 World Trade Way there's a couple of factions here. So Access Support for Living is gonna buy the 6 acre parcel next to the 108 World Tradeway is gonna buy 108 World Tradeway building from Simone and the town, but from Simone and they want to buy the property that the building's on, which is ours, through First Columbia. So I spoke to First Columbia. They're good with the deal because First Columbia pays us a particular fee throughout the year for the 40 acres. We're gonna be minusing the worth of that off of the ground lease. So First Columbia is gonna be out of it. Access is gonna make the purchase of 108 World Tradeway from Simone. With us involved too. Of course, I want my take out of it.
Right.
We had, like, as you guys know, we hired an appraisal company. The appraiser company came back with with some numbers. I went back and forth with Simone and we've reached a deal, we've tentatively reached a deal. Of course, you folks gotta be, yes, we're all about it. At this point right now, what we're doing is we have to go out to permissive referendum for 30 days on the property and the building.
Mhm.
This Wednesday, we're gonna put it out for that to authorize the signing of that. We have to lay on the table for 30 days. I know, again, another thing, back to number 3, why a lot of that doesn't get done, because this came up. And there's a lot of
Oh,
moving
sure.
parts to
Oh,
this.
yeah.
What, who owns the mortgage and the deed and the property and First Columbia? So there's a whole lot of dealing that's gotta be done. And there could be another component to the deal, but after this, but we'll talk about that. So we came up with a number of the sale for that with myself and Simone with a lot of haggling back and forth, and they agreed to a purchase price of $550 for the property there for us. So we're gonna do a deal, if you will, for that 3 acres, 3.5 acres of the, and again, we gotta look at, we're selling 3.5 acres, just the property now. The building is really not ours, if you will. But it is, but it's not. There's a whole convoluted story to this, how this happened way back when, and I'm not looking to suck in people that were here years ago and gone. There's been a lot of paperwork back and forth, if you will, and who agreements and who's gonna get some what was it, stocks from Oxy Video went in, but they went out of business and they were no good. And it all was internal deals. It was nothing like, it was just nuts. So I think, you know what? Again, I said the 2 pain in the neck parcels up there, 108 World Tradeway, because it's subleased to a second party and who said they own it, and Raz Avenue. And I think this is one of them. I think it's a very good deal. I think you folks will see that when it comes down to it, that, we negotiated a fair price for the town.
And the 3 acres includes the land for, under the building? Is
So,
that- did
so
I
it's,
understand that
yes,
correctly?
yes,
Okay.
it's basically the land,
Okay.
if you will. There, even though there's an established building on it. However, I will tell you, Simone, when they bought the interest in the mortgage, they're telling me they put over $2 million in it. If you go in the building, they put a lot of money into it. I mean, I'm talking brand new generator, all HVAC units. The inside of it the only thing that's not new in there is floors, and I think they were waiting to either lease it or sell it to somebody that whatever floor they want, was it tile, carpet, whatever. But they did a beautiful job in there. They got fire systems in there. So they're right at the finish line. So there's, like I said, a fair deal on the table. Access is, they're gonna use it as a conference center, which is actually set up for that. If you look at it, there's 2 big rooms in there. It looks kind of beautiful. They've kind of said, whatever the town, if we ever have any conferences or something, we need to use it, we can use it. But I'm not looking for, I said, we got enough. I got a room
Yeah.
here. We're good.
Right.
But like I said, I think it's a fair deal. It's just a lot of work to get this done, but once you see the deal, I will, once we get something inked, and I don't, okay, as a matter of fact, Access called me today and asked where we were with, if I was able to get it on the agenda, and I told them, well, yes, they did. They got on the agenda to get those 30 days going. And then once that's all done, then we'll be out of that, and that'll be a little revenue.
Sure.
So and not to kind of guys go crazy, but that's a 3.5 acre parcel that right now, I think it's around, and don't hold me to this, I think it's around $280,000 a year, around that. First Columbia pays the town for the ground lease. We did some math and figured out what it would be an acre, like maybe $7,000 and change an acre. So we're gonna be losing that a year off of like $25,000, if you will, a year. However, there is another parcel that abuts a piece of property that First Columbia has that's smaller, that the town owns 2.5 acres, and he's looking for some deal with that, I'm not against talking to him and seeing if with that ground lease money we're gonna lose,
Yeah.
trying to get that back. out
Get
of
that
At
revenue
least
stream,
that, if
revenue
not
stream
more.
back, yeah, absolutely, yeah.
The only thing I don't, this is the first time I've thrown this out there, the only thing I'm not doing backflips over is First Columbia's lease with the town right now is like, it's a 99-year lease and there's like 73 years left. I'm not all about leasing that particular parcel to him for 73 years, so that's something, I don't know if that's gonna be a deal breaker, but that's something we're gonna have to really negotiate with him, how we're gonna do it, and if we wanna do it 10 years at a clip, or, listen, the guy wants it, I know he does. The price he wants to pay for it's not fair, certainly now what we just sold this one for, so that's gonna be more, you'll see probably more on that next meeting, if not the meeting, the July meeting.
Okay.
Then it will, we'll get right going, so.
Thank you.
Oh my God, the police department emergency generator, I've been dealing with that forever now. So we had our generator, as we all know, blow up that
Yeah.
one meeting, so we've been dealing with that. It seems like, I'm kind of hopeful that the insurance company's gonna cover. But it looks like what they're gonna cover, perhaps, maybe, is the generator right now. So we have a 50 kW generator right now with a transfer switch inside our building. That's how it was built, it's in every room.
Oh, okay.
The new generators that come today, if we were to replace that 50 kW generator with another 50, and that's current transfer switch, it won't fit by code in the spot it's in. Leaves us no choice than to throw it outside,
Outside.
right outside the
Yeah,
building.
on a pad.
Since we're doing that, was my decision, listen, and our current generator only runs about maybe half of the building, if you will, like, what are we doing here? And I think it was a cost thing 35 years ago. So I said, let's put it outside, let's up it to it runs the entire building, so there's no issues, and let's move on. So we got it priced out, we did it, we're probably talking, right now with no insurance coverage, we're probably talking, so it's $63,990 for the generator, the transfer switch, them to remove the old one and crane the new one to its spot. And then I got a quote for 28,490 from one electrician to do electrical work, but I just went out for a couple other quotes, so hoping to get that cheaper, so that's 92,000, and then we have to do a concrete slab outside, which we're gonna do. Seems like most of it's gonna be in-house. So the buildings and grounds guys will dig it and we'll do all that, so we'll be able to save some money there. The generator, our insurance company, which is crazy to me, we're insured, but we're insured for equipment, if you will, like used equipment, we'll call it. Though it seems like they'll cover us with the exact same size generator. However, we do have extra insurance that if the generator has to get moved outside, they're not gonna pay for a bigger one, they'll pay for that 50 size, so they'll give us money towards that. And they'll even pay for us to put a slab outside, but only for the 50, so if we make it bigger, that's gonna be on me. So there seems like we're gonna get some money out of it, which is I was kind of pleasantly surprised, hopefully, I'm not.
Mhm.
I'm downstairs here, if I was like they down there measuring, they want other things, so we gotta send them proof why we think it
Right.
needs to be outside. And quite frankly, me being I worked down there too for many years. It's just not, back then it was a cost effective thing, it was good, it's inside our police department building, when it runs and tests, they
Yeah.
hear it running.
Yeah,
It's just the fumes from it,
No.
the exhaust, it's just not just the way you don't do things anymore.
Smart.
And the diesel tank
No.
is inside the building as well with it, so it's just crazy, so everything will be
so
outside.
we've done multiple.
So,
boiler upgrades.
regardless if
Yeah.
it doesn't
All that
get
stuff,
covered
it's
at all,
easier.
it's 100,000 out of our pocket,
Yeah,
or a little
it's
more, if it
well-
does, then
well
it's.
worth it.
Yeah, so
Yeah, gotta have it.
we're getting there.
Good.
The next thing on here, so I had, and I know this has been a conversation with a couple times, and I know I believe everybody's feeling in here, but I'm not gonna speak for all you folks can. So there's a subdivision that's in front of, the planning board now, it's called Shadowback Run subdivision, it's off of Jackson Avenue, I think they're talking maybe 30 homes in it or so. In the discussions with the planning board's desire is, according to the town code, is to have the, construction guy, and the guy that's the applicant of this, to put in sidewalks on both sides of the street. So with that, there was some back and forth between the planning board and the applicant in reference to, the need and the want for it. I think we've seen a lot too in our day, that there's been a lot of subdivisions in town that just didn't have any sidewalks in them, and we don't know what the ask was. I know we did the same thing for Fox Hill. Fox Hill was all built and done and, all inspections were completed and then they came to us and they didn't have any sidewalks and if the residents were mad if they had to get them, yada, yada. That was something I honestly, my opinion at the time felt like, since and no fault of our engineers, I think they were marching orders. Our engineers, we did these inspections and gave COs to homes and there was no sidewalks out front. And then when it come time to take dedication, it's like, where's the sidewalks? Well, where was our engineers? Again, it's not their fault, if you will. So in this case, we're being proactive and like we're supposed to do. The planning board has sent the applicant said, listen, if you want either one or no sidewalks, you need to go to the planning board or to the town board, what the code says. So I told the applicant, and this is just my opinion, that I know, again, there's a lot of subdivisions with no sidewalks, and there's a lot of them, or a couple of them that have one sidewalk on them, which I think is sufficient. This happens to be a loop. There's an inner loop of it's an in and a loop and it comes out. There's an inner loop of sidewalk and there'll be an outer loop of sidewalk. After I looked at it with the engineer, and I said, listen, I think it would make kind of sense and I'd be okay with it, especially that's how it's made up, that at least one sidewalk.
Yeah.
It should not have none. So, they agreed, the planning board said, listen, if you were okay with one, show two on the plans. And if you want to do away with one, you come to the town board. So I did get a letter from the management, it's called Tiger Lily Development. I think it's a group of guys from the company, the main guy as far as Drew Cardiganer. He's the builder and he's looking to do away with one of the sidewalks. So I asked him to give me a construction cost of the sidewalk that he's looking to do away with. One of the reasons I think I'm not against it is because which drives me crazy is that this part doesn't drive me crazy, but all these subdivisions have to have detention ponds in them. They're required to have them for stormwater and stuff like that. And when there's a sidewalk that runs in front of it, it's
Right.
my property. Now we gotta go out and send somebody to either shovel a little piece of sidewalk and stuff. And I'm tired of mowing people's neighborhoods and subdivisions when a builder comes in. Now it's our problem for some reason. So the part of the sidewalk that we're looking to forgive runs in front of these two detention ponds, which now I don't have to take care of sidewalks. He gave me a cost estimate. He said to do away with the one that he wants to do away with, it's about 70,000.
Yeah, all right.
So I said to him, he goes, well, how much, what would it be? I said, listen, the only thing I'd be willing to do or talk to you is it's gotta be half. You gotta give me 35,000 towards recreation or something towards the youth programs or something in town. He goes, I wish it was a little cheaper than that. I said, well, I'm not gonna talk, if you want more than that, then put two of them in, it's not that hard. He goes, I'll go with the 35,000.
Why
So-
is it half and not the full?
Because why would he just not put them in?
Right,
So if I said,
so this is the cost of all the sidewalks.
yeah, so the one sidewalk that he's gonna eliminate costs 70,000. So if I told him to pay, if I told him you need to pay me
Right.
70, he's gonna be like, screw it, I'm just gonna put in a sidewalk.
Yeah.
Why should I give you anything? So at least he's gonna have one in the subdivision. To do away with one, he agreed to pay half of that. So I sent this to our engineer to kind of give me a cost to make sure that I'm not being, snowed with this. He did tell me that our engineer, Sean, for MHE, he uses a calculation, if you will, so he's used that calculation based on that. He says it's in line. If Mike said he used his own calculation and what he's seen for other subdivisions, it would certainly be higher. But he was already, I think our MHE already put the lower calculation towards it from Sean.
Yeah.
I know he's
Would we
retired,
want
has
to
retired.
ask those particular houses in that inner loop first before agreeing to do?
No, because they're not built. So if you don't,
yeah.
if you wanna
I
buy
was
it,
thinking if they are.
yeah, no,
Committed.
so I think Fox Hill was an
Yeah,
example that they weren't going,
That's
and
what I
they
was thinking.
agreed, yeah, they agreed. But since they're not built, it's like buyer beware now, you know what I mean? We can't, we're gonna agree to it, it's on the plans. So if we agree to this and we take the 35,000, if you will, towards recreation, and we do away with one of them. He's gonna edit his plans, and his plans are gonna be they'll go approve it and they'll build them. Our engineers know our style, that they inspect each aspect as they go along, and they don't forgive any of this stuff.
Right.
If they don't have it, they don't get a CO for the house. You don't sell a house, they don't make money, so they gotta follow the rules. So the outermost loop, which goes into the entrances on Jackson, if there's bus stops or whatever, or have you in the beginning, would have sidewalks. And I think they stop at a certain spot on the subdivision because it doesn't make sense to have many longer. But that's what he's looking for. I told him, you know, like I said, I didn't want to price him out because at the point of, if I tell him, 50,000 and he says, no, I'm not doing it, I could just say build him and he'll just get it out of the person he's selling the house to. So I'd rather get something out of for my programs if I'm gonna do away with one of them. And again, it's the people know they're buying it, buyer beware, I mean, I can't, that's how it is. They stole a house without a sidewalk on their plan, so. I don't know what your thoughts are, if anybody cares about it or not, but the town code does allow for this process, and this is the process we're following, so. It would be up to us, so at some point it'll be on, it'll be on
An agenda.
agenda.
Yeah, sure.
Before I turn it over to you folks, I just do want to bring up two things and a couple, there's one hotter topic I'm sure you guys saw. Apparently I've become an internet sensation, the rodeo and the music. So I will tell you, I wanna, because I think,
Next feeling.
you not only mixed feelings, but I don't think a lot of people know the whole story, so of
Right.
course there are people gonna comment, so. For years now, and I think, matter of fact, Alberto's with us on the Minnesota News here, and he'd asked me the other day to do a little story on it, because, he says he remembers it being brought up in the town board meetings a couple times by I think by George Myers at the time. And I was barking about it. I think we all were, in reference to the noise and stuff like that. And we've heard a lot of complaints. I've worked for the police department for years and I saw it myself. So last year, my first year on the board as supervisor, we dealt with a lot of complaints and we dealt with it. This year, before it happened, we were invited to a meeting. It was between the City of Newburgh Police Department, the Town of New Windsor Police Department. It was Deputy Chief Hollyfield was there. The City of Newburgh had a police chief and lieutenant. Myself from my here, and Jeff from my office went. The armory staff was there. Mr. Kaplan himself was there. And they had Zamora Entertainment, who was there. They had like 7 or 8 people that were representing there. When the meeting started, it didn't necessarily go the way in the beginning we all thought we were there for. Thought we were there to be proactive about music, but it had to do with something else. We kind of settled all that, and then we got into the music aspect and being a good neighbor. So we all exchanged business cards and cell phone numbers. Mr. Kaplan agreed to say, listen, you call me anytime there's any issues. We all, it was a nice meeting. We kind of all realized that there was some, they wanted to be a good neighbor and we want to be a good neighbor as well. We're like, it seems like there's speaker issues. And they said they would handle it. Fast forward to the first rodeo this year. My office got a number of calls. I got a number of texts and phone calls. Of course, they're on Sundays. I signed up for this. I get it. I'm not worried about it with the day of the week, but I was getting phone calls. Hey, what are you doing about this? So we were proactive in trying to stop it. So I happened to be between my home and the City of Newburgh at the time at somebody's house. So I called Mr. Kaplan myself. He said, let me try to get over there. He ended up saying he went there. I could hear it clear as day, whereas I don't know what the music was or who was singing or who was doing what. I could just hear, almost sounds like somebody's
The
speaker.
type of speaker.
Yeah, it almost sounds like somebody's speaker. So he said, I'm here. It is loud. I'll handle it, blah, blah, blah. It never went away. It still happened, that day. Fast forward to the next rodeo. I get a call again on my cell phone, some phone calls. I make another phone call with Mr. Kaplan. This call, one of the callers happened to be in Ducktown. Mr. Kaplan said, I'll send somebody over to the house. If they did, the person didn't get out of the car. They later sent 2 people over the house. They spoke to my complainant who said, yeah, it's definitely loud. We'll have to do something about it. Again, I followed up with Mr. Kaplan several times. And then the music still didn't go away. It was still loud as can be. I called and I asked the police department if they would just send somebody down to take a bunch of readings in the area, just to say that we're not, it's not me and we're trying to get it. So now I went from proactive meetings months and months ago to nothing changed. It's been like this 6-7 years of nonstop. So the readings in New Windsor in a couple spots were illegal. I had asked the one officer to just go into Newburgh. I want you to go in there and just take a reading to see if it's illegal. He was right in the Coyotes parking lot. It was like 80, almost 82. The city's decibel reading is 65 as well as ours. So it was obviously violated in Newburgh, and I hear maybe those folks are calling, maybe they're not calling. So my point is, if it's illegal there, all they have to do, and I explained this to Mr. Kaplan, if you make it legal where you are, we're good, because it can't be illegal where I am. It's not going to travel that far. I understand. I think fast forward, what happened was so they went down and took some readings, and I instructed, it wasn't, people have maybe some hatred and thinking the police department. I said, let's write the entertainment company. Enough's enough. I called the city of Newburgh. I spoke to the city manager, Todd Fanning. I told him what I was, what I was up to and what was happening. He thought it was a bit reaching, maybe. He did tell me how that Mr. Kaplan makes a lot of money for the programs there and the kids. The kids things I like, don't get me wrong, but it's a for profit business, and it's still aggravating the people here in New Windsor, and we've tried to have meetings and nobody's done nothing about it. So, they wrote, the entertainment company came here. I did end up getting a call from I guess she's a new executive director for the Armory, Danielle Anderson. Very super nice woman. It was very helpful. Come to find out, it seems like, and this is what a lot of the public doesn't know, it seems like there's a huge breakdown between the Armory staff and the story and the decibel readings they're giving to Mr. Kaplan. I don't know if they gotta just hit the mic and see if the decibel reading reads what they're supposed to do, or maybe give him the truth. Because it doesn't seem like that was happening, and it seemed like they said we're operating in the confines of the city law. I don't know if they're talking New York City or some other, but it's certainly not the city of Newburgh. And they, I think it seemed like they may be doing some employee changes there, if you will, and some things are changing in there. I know I was told that there's a possible they're dealing with, maybe they move the rodeo inside so the next one's on Monday, the 25th. I know it's the Memorial Day weekend. I said, maybe try to decide, or, just like everybody else, if we have an event here in New Windsor and it's too loud, we have decibel meters, we go down there and we'll try to do the nice thing and warn you, which we did with our meetings in the last 7 years. And then after that, we issued.
Have they tried turning it down?
So
What is
the problem is Mr. Kaplan doesn't live there. I'd assume the board members are not going to these events because they're just on the board. When he's called and told, no, they're good. Matter of fact, I can tell you my last caller, I was back and forth with her, and she said that they came here and it seemed like it got lower. And I'm like, great results. I like it. And then 10 minutes later, she goes, oh, they just turned it back up.
That's.
So, and I think that's what happened, so they'll appease you for a little bit. Well, again, in fairness to the Armory board and the owners, they're relying on their staff and maybe the entertainment people. And it seems like some results are happening. So I'm not, listen, do I wanna, go, for me, for the last 2 years, I've been getting along great with City of Newburgh. I've met with them a couple of times. We've been doing good. The chief just took a voicemail the other day, which he sent to me. I was yesterday, the day before, that was from a City of Newburgh resident on Bridge Street, thanking the chief for all the work he did on that. He's been trying to get results for years and has got nothing. There's still more rodeos. They got like 8 more scheduled. They think they do 2 a month. So I don't know that, it could be the music again, and they may just say, we don't care about New Windsor, but.
Well, then we'll.
Do we take more readings and
have
give
to
more?
return, right?
So I know there's a component. I know there may be a component. I don't know. I always got to look to the lawyers. They tell you to shut up, but I got to be honest, and I've said it. And I look at it. I don't know if there's a. I've even said I don't care. I don't know if there's a civil avenue we can pursue if they don't clear it up. It's just frustrating. It's at the end of the day. And I don't care. Again, I signed up for this to the New Windsor people calling, but I live, and again, I don't know what it is, but I live 1.7 miles as the crow flies from there, and I can hear it in my house.
Okay.
So, and I get it. It's the way the wind's blowing and the trees are howling. Some days they haven't, and you don't ever hear it because it may be wind blowing the other way. It floors me. Some of the people are saying they live right next door and they can't hear it. I don't know. Yeah.
That's how it works at Travis. It's
Yeah.
weird.
So, but there's the people that live, even in the city that
Yeah.
are complaining that are not getting any answers as well. So hopefully that'll be cleared up. If not, they're gonna keep calling my office and we'll just keep, plugging along.
Yeah.
So that, I know there was, we did talk about, I did meet with, folks and the highway superintendent in reference, I know it's been a hot topic of paving the airport.
Yeah,
So, you know, we do have some forward movement going on up there. We got a couple properties that Simone owns that they're in contract with. Hopefully they sell and they're done. They put it to bed. One of them's coming to the planning board. So there's some asks. We usually do this with applicants, asking if they can do some infrastructure work, water mains, sewer lines and stuff like that. So we want to be careful how much blacktop we put down. We got to dig it all back up again. So I met with the blacktop plant out there with Anthony. They originally had agreed to, and I say donate because they're the ones beating our streets up as well, 1,000 tons of blacktop for us. They amped it up to 1,200 tons. I don't know, Anthony, have they given us a per ton price?
No, she was supposed to email me last week, but she has not yet.
Alright, so I'll poke at her again.
Break
So,
down on her.
yeah, so they're gonna give us like a discounted tonnage rate after that. And then after that, the hopes are to I don't know, I think, you know, I have hopes, and I'm sure the highway guys don't want us, I wanna see us pave all the roads up there. I know there's a couple that are bad, we're definitely gonna do Brooks, cause Brooks is on,
Yeah.
Brooks is beating our own machines up, cause we gotta come in and out of that road, there's the one in front of the World Trade, in front of the Blacktop plant. And then I'd like to hit, we have Hudson Valley Avenue, which is the Grove, and that's,
Yeah.
there's no infrastructure that has to be done on that road at all. That section of Hudson Valley Avenue, there's
Yeah.
no sewer. There's just one water line that crosses it, but we're pretty good with that.
right.
And then there's these two buildings that the properties that are selling that we're hoping that we have a little work done on. Sewer and water, and then the applicant may be required to do some either paving or patching. If not, we'll have to do what we gotta do on that. But my hopes are to get some of the airport, you know, listen, make it marketable too. There's still a couple other private parcels up there that need to be sold. We have some up there that I know I've had a lot of people calling about some ground leasing as well. Some property we own, so you know, I think we got a lot of movement up there, so hopefully we get some better weather than this and.
Yeah, we're ready to go. Just
Yeah.
gotta crank down on them. the numbers.
Yeah, so we'll have to reach out to them, we'll get them going and we'll get
Great.
them at least some of, cause we got a couple like the EMT up there, I think they're maybe even looking at purchasing that building perhaps, so we gotta do a little work up there. Access is coming in, so it's gonna be hopping up there now, so finally the airport's moving, so
Excellent.
you guys are doing a good job, so. But yeah, that's
too.
I don't know, you guys have anything else you wanna bring up to the public side of it? Think anything that you're need to talk about before we go to executive session? Nothing? I think we're good,
Okay,
right? I thank everybody. And
Mr. Morel.
You have to move.
yes, did you wanna do that, Steve?
I'd like to make a motion to move to executive session.
Then I was
Or-
second that motion.
Thank you.
For personnel items?
Well, it's just because we have to go to executive
Okay.
session, that's how we call it that.
Thank you, everybody. I appreciate it, Chief. I
Don't
just-
even- don't even